This video was brought to you by Greenman Gaming. Click the link below if you want to see amazing discounts on a lot of good games. Gaming backlogs are a thing that everyone has to deal with. You already know that, I know that, everyone who plays games know that. Games, you know, they go down to pretty low prices nowadays, and you just can't resist buying a game that's like 75% off. You tell yourself, you're like, oh, I'll play this, and then you realize 5 years have passed and it's still sat in your library unplayed. Now, obviously I suffer from this issue, which is why I have this series on my channel where I play through my backlog, and you already know that, I already know that, so I'm not going to waste any more of your time, and I'm going to talk about the first game that I got off my backlog, that being Stray. Now, if you were to ask me if I was a dog person or a cat person, without hesitation, I would say I'm a cat person. No hate towards dogs, I love dogs, dogs are funny little creatures, but cats are just funnier little creatures, that's the best way I can put it. But Stray is a game where you play as a cat, and it took the world by storm in 2022 because a game where you can play as a cat was just unheard of at the time. There were games where you could play as a dog. Do you guys remember Dog's Life on the PS2 where there was a button to shit and you could pick up the shit in your mouth and throw it at people? But Stray was unique because there weren't really any games about cats. Nowadays it's completely different, you know, we got Stray and Little Kitty Big City. I think that's the only two actually. But yeah, for its time, Stray was pretty cool. It was a unique concept. You could do all the cat things. There was a meow button. You could scratch a carpet. There were areas where you could just sleep and nothing else. You could jump up on shelves and knock stuff down. But that wasn't the whole game. There's a story to this. And it was a pretty nice story. I enjoyed it because basically Stray takes place in this dystopian cyberpunk future where there aren't any humans anymore. There are just robots. And you're just this little cat going around solving puzzles to progress through this place. There are moments where it opens up a bit and you can explore towns and do little side quests for these robots and little interactable bits. But it's also a place that's been infested with this weird gunk, like these little organic creatures that are not very nice, and they try and attack you on sight, and you have like a UV light on your little robot companion which you also find, which kills them instantly. It's like you're playing Dying Light or some shit. And yeah, that's all Stray really is. It's a nice little adventure where you play as a cat and it's fun. It was a fun time. It does drag its feet a bit by the end because, you know, the gimmick of playing as a cat does wear off pretty quickly, but it was good. I had a good time with it. And I'm glad that I finally got around to playing it because this one was sat in my backlog for a long ass time. The next game I want to talk about is Little Hope. Now, the Dark Pictures anthology, it's not been very good so far. I've played Man of Medan, and that was years ago. I played it with my good friend Andre, NeoGamer99. Check out his epic Let's Plays. And yeah, we played Little Hope recently. We're trying to get through all the Dark Pictures games, and so far it's not been very good. Man of Medan was dog shit, and Little Hope was slightly better, but it was still shit. It was still pretty terrible. And it's a shame because I like what Little Hope was going for. Basically, it starts out showing off this family that all die one by one, apart from this one guy who is the guy from Bandersnatch who goes, fair enough, see you around. I don't know if you've watched Bandersnatch, but his actors, he looks funny, so it was already entertaining because of that. And then you play as the same people, but in modern day, and they're not related to each other. They crash in this weird place called Little Hope, which has this little girl that like harasses them and takes them back in time to like the era where they used to burn women at the stake for being witches, and they also were the same people. So I had this theory in my head that they were cursed. They were cursed to relive their lives and die one by one in scenarios together. And that's what I thought. That's what I thought was going on. And if you don't want a spoiler, I mean, I don't know if you give a shit at all, but if you don't want a spoiler, I'll put a timestamp here just in case you give a shit about playing Little Hope. But basically what it was you're actually playing as the bus driver, and the bus driver was that kid from the start who watched his family die, and he basically experienced the game. None of the horror shit happened, he just walked around the town and all of it was going on in his head. I'm not even joking, it was just all in his head. That was the game. And instantly like that, I fucking hated this piece of shit. It was It was so bad. It was literally an all-in Lehead game. You can't make this up. It was not good. I don't recommend playing Little Hope. I don't recommend playing Man of Medan. Luckily, I've heard the next one is the best one they've made, so I'm actually quite looking forward to that one. But yeah, you'll find out what I think about that in another Backlog video, so stick around for that. Now, my good friend, the channel with the freakishly long name, would like to talk about a game that he beat off his backlog, so I'll just let him crack on with that. He can just take it away.
Helloing, ladies and longs. It's me. Now, before my segment starts, I'm gonna be talking about the newly released Resident Evil Requiem, so if you don't want this game spoiled for you, then skip my segment entirely. But if you're not a beta cuck, then keep watching because, oh my goodness, this game is peak. Resident Evil Requiem. Now yes, I get there's a lot of lols and the funnies because of the new protagonist Grace and her gameplay style being more akin to the more survival horror roots of the series, while Leon is... well, this, but I think the idea of separating both her and Leon's campaigns was a pretty interesting choice that gives them each their own unique gameplay style and keeps the entire experience of the game from going stale throughout the entire lengthy runtime. And don't worry, I think that Leon's segments are equally as enjoyable, if not more so, probably considering that this was the character that most people give a shit about, and I guess that also shows because I believe that his segments are easily the highlight of the entire game, whereas I feel like his action-oriented gameplay is the most refined it's ever been since we got Resident Evil 4's remake back in 2023. But oh, one of the biggest things about this game that I think you'll really adore is the amount of fan service which they pumped into this game, which is really appreciative considering how this game pays homage to not only the recent remakes of the series, but the PS1 entries as well. I think Leon's segment where you return to Raccoon City is the shining example of such fan service. So be sure to keep your eye out because you might have a few surprises if you're a longtime fan of the series. Also surprisingly, seeing that this is a new game in the big 2026 that is going to have a much longer lifespan than Highguard, this game looks absolutely amazing and runs buttery smooth thanks to Capcom actually using the RE engine for what it was made for and not for shit like Dragon's Dogma 2. I hit my mic. And this game as well excels in probably having what I consider to be the best replay value in the entire series, which gets enhanced depending on how you play each character's different scenarios. This game was definitely worth all of the hype, and it's even more so if you're a fan of not just the recent RE games, but the series as a whole. I am quite looking forward to how they're gonna up the ante if they ever choose to do Resident Evil 10, though after playing this, that is gonna be one hell of a big task, isn't it? Also, Prox, thank you so much for having me back on again, and as my channel outro goes nowadays, now piss off, I'm going to bed.
Wow, thank you very much to the channel with the freakishly long name on youtube.com. Great opinions on insert game here. The next game I want to talk about is Spider-Man 2. I like Spider-Man 2, but it's nowhere near as good as the first one or Miles Morales. And it's a case where the story really brings this one down. Marvel's Spider-Man 1, incredible story, incredible character arc for Peter, great villains. The bit with Aunt May made me sob like a little baby when I first played it on PS4. I am not afraid to admit that. Miles Morales, that was a fun game, fleshing Miles out in the universe. It was short, but it also had a nice ending. It also had a nice character arc for Miles. So why in Spider-Man 2 do these two feel like the most stilted, flatlined characters when it comes to their personality? Even with Venom and the suit that Peter gets that makes him more evil and aggressive, it feels like they don't learn anything. They don't overcome anything. Like, Peter is a piece of shit when he has that suit on. He is horrible to everyone. I mean, they don't quite go above and beyond with that because it's Insomniac Games, and if you've played any of the new Ratchet and Clanks, those people, I don't know where I heard this, but they write their characters like HR is in the room with them. They play it so safe, and it really sucks because I don't know if any of you played Ratchet and Clank, the PS2 ones. I mean, it's not amazing stories, but like the character writing, it was edgy, it was cool, it was, well, it was, you know, it was good. They felt like actual characters and they were developing. But I don't know, man, the story of this game is so shit. And like, even after he loses the suit and it goes on Harry and it becomes like the actual Venom we all know, Peter just goes back to how he was. He's just this stilted, one note, I'm a good guy character. And that's what Miles becomes as well. He's basically like, I'm a good guy, but I also hate this villain. I really hate this villain because he killed my dad. And then he has an encounter with that villain, and then he's like, he's a good guy now. So I'm back to being a good guy with nothing else going on. The gameplay's good. I can't fault it for that. It expands a lot more on the gameplay of Spider-Man 1, and you know, it's Spider-Man. You can't go wrong with it. Yeah, that's literally it. I think maybe the side stuff's a bit better in Spider-Man 2 than Spider-Man 1, but aside from that, it's just not as good as the first two games. The next game I want to talk about is Brazilian Drug Dealer 3. I opened a portal to hell in the favela, trying to revive Mit something. I need to close it. It's just peak. I literally have nothing else to say about this one. Best game ever made. I had a guy who commented on every one of my videos asking me to play it. Finally played it for a whopping 4 minutes, and it is peak. Best game ever made. I don't know what else to say about it. Now, the last game I want to talk about is Far Cry New Dawn. It took me so long to get around to playing this game despite having Far Cry 5 as my favourite Far Cry game, and let me tell you, New Dawn is okay. It's okay. That's all I can really say about Far Cry New Dawn. It's okay. I didn't even finish it. I ended up dropping it when I realised that it's got a really repetitive gameplay loop of just doing open world shit, and then you get like a main mission, and it's whatever. But you know, I played enough of it. I played like 6 hours to get a good feel of how the game is, and it's okay. I like the aesthetic of it. I don't know what was going on that year, but there were two apocalyptic games with like a pink aesthetic, the other one being Rage 2, which I would say is a much better game, honestly. But it's got the gameplay of Far Cry 5. There's a unique RPG element to it with like leveled enemies and health bars and leveled weapons to craft and stuff, and they have this cool apocalyptic vibe to them. But aside from that, it's just kind of whatever. Like, it's just a downsized Far Cry 5. I do like the stuff with Joseph Seed though, when you encounter him and he has a lot of regret for the stuff that happened in Far Cry 5. Pretty cool character arc, honestly. But aside from that, it's a whatever game. It didn't really need to exist, but if you're looking for something to play with your friend and you want an open world game with Far Cry gameplay, you can't really go wrong with Far Cry New Dawn. Well, there you go. There's a few games from my backlog that I finished off and had a mixed time with. You know, some of them I enjoyed, some of them I didn't. And if you're interested in checking some of these games out, then I highly recommend checking out Green Man Gaming, because they do discounts a lot, and a lot of the games I talk about in my videos are on the storefront of Green Man Gaming, and that also includes The Evil Within. They also have The Evil Within on there if you want to check that one out. It's usually on sale quite a lot of the time, but yeah. Let me know in the comments what games you finished in your backlog. Did you enjoy it, or did you absolutely hate it and drop it? I would really like to know. You know, it's always interesting to see what people are playing. But yeah, this video wouldn't have been possible without my Patreon supporters. That being Nintendo Pro, Profit, Pitstab, Bouncer Storm Productions, and Daniel Levchenko. And also a huge thank you to my channel members. That being Courtney Williams, DR9TB, Zello007, On The Go Gaming 109, BatDX, Rattlejake Snake, Eteria Sigma, Cheezer9530, Rec12748, Quack29, Randomness7550, Platesfly8362, Liam Talks About, Chowder1326, Olicuz1, Marshala4566, Marcus Platts, Joshua Whitford 5509, Evan Underhill 2342, Bidoo for Doom, Gabriel Padro 5589, Scary 1407, Eggy 613, Wentel, Riff King 66, Dizrays 3250, Sobitax, Andreas Stewart 8871, Galaxy 11243, Glusky 36, Floaty 38, Wolfborn TV, Rust on Wood, Elhaze 117, also known as some balding guy rambling into the void, Griefgar, Resistance Lion, That was all of them. Sorry, I get into like a flow state when I'm reading them out. There's so many of you now. I think it's gonna get to a point where I'm not gonna be able to read every single name out because there's gonna be so many of you and it's gonna take up like half of the video. I do really appreciate it though. Genuinely, I do really appreciate it. It means absolutely so much to me that so many of you are willing to pay extra money just to see content early and have your name read out at the end. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.